we're here today to talk about periods. Periods. I'm on my period. I'm on my period. How many different ways do we say I'm on my period? I'm on my period. Isn't that amazing? I bleed. I'm a woman. I'm normal. I'm bleeding. I'm a bleeding woman. Wow, can you imagine how different the world would be if we spoke differently about our bodies? And it starts with us. I heard the other day, oh, men just don't understand. Well, they don't understand because they haven't been taught, they haven't been shown by their parents, one of which was probably a woman. So we are here to make changes, and in making the changes, we heal the generation before us, our generation, and the generations after us as well. We are here to help support the next generation of women. You have been chosen. How amazing, how beautiful is that? Now, I don't expect you to put a sticker on your front door and say, I'm on my period, or go around chanting, I'm on my period, I'm on my period, because that's what people think I'm asking them to do. No, I'm just asking that we start to have more open conversations, and the conversations maybe in the office, right? That isn't about how bad periods are, how awful they are. My partner works in an office where there's lots of women, or he has done in the past. Obviously, he's working from home now, but he has done in the past. And he says he can't believe how negative women are towards their bodies. He thinks women's bodies are absolutely beautiful and amazing and magical. And he doesn't understand them because he wasn't taught to understand them, even though he grew up with a sister. But they just didn't. Okay. And he said that it's me that has been educating him, but he's also done a lot of reading because he has two daughters and he's a single dad. But he says it's a breath of fresh air to be with somebody like me that talks about women's bodies very differently. Now, if you have talked about your body in a negative way, if you've talked about periods in a negative way, if you've got annoyed with your body for being on period when it was holiday, or you had a sexy weekend away planned, forgive yourself, because we have all, me included, done that. And yes, it can be irritating, can't it, when you want to wear a bikini and you can't, yeah, because you're on so yes, I get that, but let's start to think about how magical our periods are, and remember that our periods aren't a curse. Every woman has them, and they are here for a reason. And we are beautiful, amazing women. Like, we are phenomenal. Our bodies are amazing. Our bodies heal themselves. Mother Nature, look at how it all works. Our bodies are amazing. So I want us to start to kind of sharing this more in our community, at work, at home, how amazing the body is. I've taught Hugo, my little boy, who's 10, all about menopause, or as much as he'll understand about menopause. And he calls my hormones hormones. It's just, I didn't want him to, I was like, they're normal, but he calls them hormones. He said, because they're horrible, mom. They are horrible. Mommy, you are horrible on hormones. And it's horrible that you have these hormones. And it's horrible for me to live with you with these hormones. He's actually asked if he could go and live with his dad for a week while I have hormones. And at first I was like, what? That's really bad. Actually, yes, because when I'm in my hormones, I want space. When I'm in my hormones, I want time. I want to do things that I want to ground myself. I want to chant. I want to scream. I want to shout. I sometimes want to pleasure myself as well. And actually, that's not always available as a mom, right? So obviously, I'm not saying that we're going to pack our kids away for a week. Whilst we have our period, but it's just something to remember that it is normal for it is normal that we want space. It is normal that we get frustrated. So I'm educating my boy on menopause, and he said to me, he was asking why we have periods, what it's like. And I actually said I miss my period because the period feels like a release. I haven't bled in 2 years, and the period is like shredding of the old, right? Getting rid of the old. And I don't have that, that build up. And then when you go to the toilet, you're like, oh, yes, I'm on my period, it's like a release, right? So I don't get that. But he was asking what it's like and how awful it must be to bleed. And I was telling him truthfully, yes, it can be uncomfortable. Yes, I've been sick at school because I was bleeding. Yes, I'm not, that keen on blood. And I was educating him. And then he sat in the car and he said, we do a lot of conversations in the car. Men like that, by the way, much better than being sat down and saying, we need to talk. Have a conversation with your man while you're on a walk or while you're gardening, while you're doing something, rather than, can we have that chat? That's going off topic though, but just to say. And Hugo said to me in the car, women's bodies are amazing, aren't they? Like, and he actually said, they're magic. They're like magical, mom. And I said, yeah, I know. And I did actually laugh at myself because I was thinking of the Chubby Brown. Is that the old comedian who said that how can we trust a woman that bleeds for a week and still stays alive? Anyway, going off topic again. So let's talk about our bodies in a nice way. Let's not see a period as a curse. Let's see it as the beautiful, magical thing that it is. In our community, okay, so at home, in our environment, if we don't like the word period, oh, I'm on my period, I'm due on my period, and then our partner might go, okay, yeah, because they don't know what to say, right? If they're not educated, it's up to us to educate them. And if we talk about periods in a negative way, then they're going to have that same tone, right? They're going to do exactly the same. If we talk about it negative, they're going to think it's okay to talk about it negative. If we say how amazing our bodies are, then that's what they're going to do. Men think our bodies are amazing. It's women that don't. So in the worksheet attached to this video, there's a worksheet and it talks about spring, summer, autumn, winter. And it's a great way to educate our youngsters on this and to talk about it. So our spring is when we finished our period and we have a spring in our step. We have more energy, right? We're alive. Summer is very similar to spring, but we're not so up there with energy and creativity. We're a little bit more balanced. Then we have our autumn. And this is coming up to the time where we are really, really tired, agitated, want space. We need things tidy often things that didn't bother us in spring and summer now really bother us. And then our winter is when we're on our bleed. So often, we can't say, okay, well, that week you're in summer, that week you're in autumn, because it kind of doesn't work like that. And some people like me, I have quite a long autumn. As I said, I don't bleed, so for me it's quite hard to track, but I have quite a long autumn. I don't get that bleed that winter, okay? But I also have, after the autumn, I have a high like never before. It's almost like bipolar. right? It's like boom, down here, dark, and then boom, up there, light. Yeah, but we can't have light without dark. So as a woman, we rest and we renew all the time, okay, and restore all the time. We are magnificent, magical, powerful beings, but our power only lies when we are living as a woman. We are equal to a man, but very, very different. So I'd love you to print off this worksheet and have a conversation with your partner about it. It will also help conversations with your children, particularly if you've got young girls coming into puberty, to actually acknowledge where they are in their cycle. And then when you tell your partner that you are in your autumn, he will understand. And a great thing is for him to track it. My partner makes me laugh because he actually says, my alarm's gone off. You are due to come into your autumn phase, because that's when I feel my real kind of like dark, low energy. And I'm tearful and I'm snappy and I get frustrated and I'm actually really, really low. I can't take on new projects. I can't take on new clients. It's like I can't cope. Like everything irritates me. I struggle to read instructions. I struggle to take things in. Whereas when I'm in my spring, it's like I am a different person. And this is really interesting because my mom got me tested for bipolar. She took me to the doctors thinking I had bipolar. And it was never kind of like, no one ever discussed this. They didn't track where I was in my cycle. I just thought this Tasmanian devil, like that's what they called me, a Tasmanian devil, used to sometimes come up. And I thought it was bad, right? I thought this anger, this frustration was bad. Now, I didn't have the low energy that I have now. When I was younger, I didn't notice that, but I was definitely clumsier. I would definitely be more forgetful. I wouldn't be able to pick up my dancing. I would really struggle at school. And I'd be like this angry Tasmanian devil that everybody feared. And I thought it was really bad, right? It's not bad. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful part of me. Now, I get more frustrated and more angry in my autumn when my needs aren't being met, because that's what anger and frustration actually is. It's your needs not being met. So I need to make sure, that's why my partner has an alarm, that my needs need to be met, right? How can I support you this week, Emma? And sometimes it doesn't happen. I should actually be in my low phase now, and it hasn't happened, which is great, but it's kind of like waiting for it to come. When will it come? It can be really easy to love yourself more when you're in that happy phase. You want to be in that happy, high energy phase all the time. And I have to admit, oh my God, if I was in my spring phase all the time, then I would get so much done. I'd be so creative. I would be, yeah, it is easier for me to definitely live in my spring, but that's not part of having a full human experience, and it's not part of being a woman. And I accept that I am a woman, equal to a man, but very, very different. I'm dark, I'm vulnerable, I'm wild, I'm passionate, I'm unpredictable. I change my mind all the time. So this cat's called Shadow, right? So and my other cat's called Spirit. So the autumn phase for me is like shadow, the dark. And then my summer, my spring, my summer is like spirit. Like it is almost like my partner says, like going out with two different people. And at one point, I would have seen that as bad. And now I'm like, oh, you're so lucky, aren't you? But it is, this is what it is. So start talking in your community, in your house, and educating people that live with you or that you work with about the seasons, about the spring, summer, autumn, winter, so that your partner knows which phase you are in. And as I said, there's a chart, there's a worksheet to go with this. With all my worksheets, with all my work, try not to judge yourself like, oh my God, I didn't know this stuff. I must be really bad. No, you just didn't know. And now you are learning. That's absolutely fine. Oh my God, I don't like my periods. I don't love my body. I don't speak kindly about my periods. Oh my God, has my child been picking up about periods? Accept it, acknowledge it, and love yourself through it, and know that you are here to change and you have been chosen, and that is great. We can't expect our men to understand what it feels like if we talk negative about it, if we don't talk openly about it. So it's having that support. How can he support you? Like a man loves a purpose, right? Men don't like to feel criticized and controlled, and women like to feel supported and loved. It just is, right? So if a man loves having a purpose, he can feel really it can feel really hard for him to be that man if he doesn't understand how he can help you. And because we don't say what we need, or if we do, we can do it in a way that, going back to the communication, which isn't quite right, we end up in this battle again, instead of actually saying, I want to educate you, I'm being educated on this myself. I want us to start talking about periods not in a negative way. You may even say, I don't talk negative about it, you do. Say, yeah, I know, that's been brought to my attention. um, and then start to share and the support that you need, that you want. And say, oh my God, I can we book this weekend away on this date, because I'm more likely to be in my spring then, or my summer then. So that's a great way. It's a great way of living. Whatever comes up in this worksheet, accept it. There's an area you might print it out and do the notes. You might do the notes in your journal. Just anything that comes up without any judgment whatsoever. Now, at certain times of the month, you might prefer different music. So I've actually got an embodiment, I call it an embodiment wild woman playlist on Spotify. You might find that in certain parts of your cycle, you prefer different music. Like in my spring, I'm like Madonna, I'm Sia, I'm like one of my favorite ones, I think it's Diana Ross, is I'm coming out, I've got the world to know. Another one is This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. I am like, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, like I have loads of energy, here I am, I'm back. But when I'm coming into my autumn and my winter, I very much want there's a few songs about healing the wounds and about bleed, and quite earthy songs, quite drummy, quite tribal. And the meditation that I want to do in my winter months, my autumn months, is very different to what I want to do in my spring and summer. I actually don't tend to need so much support in my spring, summer. Normally, my journaling will fall away that time as well. But you may be different, right? There's no right or wrong. It's about you finding out about you, you learning about you. So, how can you track? There's tracking apps. Of course, there's tracking apps. I'm an old-fashioned piece of pen and paper, and I just kind of know my cycle. It moves. As I said, I don't bleed. It moves all the time. You can also look into the cycle of the connection to the moon if you want to go into that deeper. But yeah, so I don't bleed, so it's harder for me to track. But in the workshop, it will tell you that when you're on your period, it's the winter, which means coming out of the winter, it's the spring, then it's the summer, and then just before your period is the autumn. And you can just notice. I've got some clients that use an app and they're like, oh, my progesteron's this, my estrogen's that, my that's that. Great. Like, I just know today I feel energized. Tomorrow I might be like, oh my God. And to accept it, and to not try and strive for this continuous, happy, high energy, high vibe. It's impossible to have that, right? So we can't have the light without the dark. It's impossible. And to remember that our periods aren't a curse. So I would love you to share what comes up for you. In all our Zooms, we'll be going over the worksheets and what came up. And yeah, let's just start spreading the autumn, winter, spring, summer. And I look forward to seeing you on a Zoom call soon.